So we've changed this Tyaughton, my personal bike, into one gear. We're going to touch on the how and the why of single speeding. Hey, it's Steve with Hardtail Life, and today I am here with Andrew.
Hi, I'm Andrew Major. I'm Claire's dad, part-time bike mechanic, and I write for a website called Meat Engines and a website called Bike Mag.
Very cool. And if you know Andrew, he's got a very special bike that has only one gear, and that's what we're here today. We're actually going to use his expertise and knowledge, and we've turned my Tyaughton into a single speed. All right, so the first step is the technical part, the how. So before this conversion here, I was running a 12-speed SRAM drivetrain.
Yeah.
So what steps do we need to take in order to go from that to this?
Well, the very first step, which we kind of screwed up, is we had to determine whether you had an XD or a microspline or an HG driver.
Okay, so I just want to note that if you have a NX cassette, it's HG. If you have a GX cassette, it's XD. I didn't know this. We figured it out.
It's not a big deal, but because I had both systems, which I technically brought with me, but we had to figure it out, and we determined that you had an HG driver, which is the original system. It's maybe not the most common on new bikes anymore, but it's very common. Most hubs you can swap between the two drivers if you want to, but with the HG driver, all we needed to do was get a collection of spacers, get a cog that we can put into a straight line, and then because Knolly doesn't use any kind of slider or swinging dropout, we had to come up with some way to tension your chain so that we could get it so it has tight points and loose points, but it's not going to be sloppy all over the place. So nice straight chain line, and then tension on the chain.
That's great. So just to recap, because Knolly doesn't have a way to tension the chain to the back, we've had to rely on this thing right here. So what is this thing right here?
So this is an MRP chain guide, G5, and it's well used. This is what I've been using to single speed my own bike, a Banshee Enigma, for the last 6 or 7 months thereabouts. So it has hundreds of hours on it already, still spins like new. There's a lot of different levels of chain guides out there. I've tried a few different ones for single speeding now. MRP is definitely worth the difference. They're not inexpensive, but compared to replacing rear derailleurs as often as Steve does, this is actually a total bargain.
He's not wrong.
So we used Steve's chainring that he already had, which is a 28-tooth oval ring. These chain guides actually work a little cleaner with a round ring, but the oval worked fine. And then this is a Enlist Bike Co. kick-ass cog in a 22-tooth. So it's a 22-tooth aluminum cog and a 28-tooth ring. It's a pretty friendly my first North Shore single speed experience gear. Most riders will be happy somewhere around a 28-22 or a 30-22 is a good starting point. Steve's pretty strong. He's not going to go any easier than this. He may find as he gets stronger, more used to single speeding, that he wants to go up to a 30-tooth ring.
Okay, we'll see. Well, thank you for the vote of confidence.
I'll also mention this is a SRAM XX1 chain, so it is a really high-end chain. Chains aren't dealing with the same side loading that we get when we're shifting gears or when we're running in really bad chain line in our low gears. So I use a high-end chain in this case because they last way longer than cheap chains in this application.
Well, now that we've gone over the how, let's talk about the why. Now, you've been single speeding for how long now?
I bought my first single speed in 2001.
Okay.
A Redline monocog.
So what made you try a single speed?
We got one in the shop. We sold a lot of BMX bikes, and it was a 26-inch mountain bike version. And honestly, I was at a weird point in mountain biking where mountain biking as an activity wasn't working for me. We were doing a lot of sort of free ride riding, and I just was having a hard time being excited about going and riding skinnies and riding off stuff and crashing in the woods, and that's what all my friends were doing. Mm-hmm. And so you want to go and ride with your friends, you want to ride what your friends are riding, and I was looking for a different experience. So I got the Redline. It was a V-brake bike. I put a disc brake on the front, changed the handlebar, and the next thing you know, you go from a $400 entry level rigid single speed bike to pretty nice machine. And yeah, from there I just have never stopped. I've sort of had a single speed pretty much consistently since then.
Nice. So would you say it's fair that most people don't have a single speeding mountain biking experience?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
What do you think would be the biggest difference for someone switching to a single speed now?
You mean if they're coming from a multi-speed bike?
From a conventional.
So I always joke I'm not an evangelist of single speeding because I get accused of it all the time, right? I think it really depends on the person. And for some people, if you're just like, you know what, I'm not interested, that's totally cool. Like I was laughing earlier, my wife's hardtail doesn't have sliding dropouts because she was very clear, very adamant that single speeding was never going to be a thing she was interested in.
Right.
That's awesome. Single speeding, if you're not interested, is going to suck. If you are interested and you're willing to put a bit of time in, what are you getting out of? It's a simpler experience, and life is ever more complicated. And when you can take something like riding bicycles in the woods that we are doing for fun, none of us are getting paid to do it. We're doing it because we love it. And you can introduce a different element of it, a simpler element of it. You can just go ride your bike. It's lovely. And it's no different than people switching back from clip-in pedals to flat pedals. I rode clip-in pedals for 2 decades.
Right.
Now I exclusively ride flat pedals. There's climbs I can't make on flat pedals I can make on clipless pedals, no doubt. Sometimes on downhills, my feet get bounced off of my pedals, no matter how much I try to have good technique. Absolutely. From an optimization perspective, clip-in pedals are better. From an optimization perspective, your 12-speed drivetrain is absolutely better.
Well, hang on. From an optimization standpoint, full suspension is better.
Full suspension is better.
Yeah.
100%. You go faster, it's more efficient, you can go farther without being tired. 100%. Single speeding, like flat pedals, to me, it's just more fun.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is something nice about, like, at the top of the trailhead where everyone's done their climb and they're like, okay, everyone, make sure you're, unlock your thing. I'm like, I'm good to go, right? Yeah. So this will be one less thing. So instead of going from a climbing gear to your down gear, you're like, I'm good to go. Another thing, I'm good to go.
So for, the folks at home, Steve's committed to doing this for 6 months.
I have.
So this is Steve's 6-month single speed challenge.
Yes.
And the way I see it, at the end of 6 months, it's going to go one of 2 ways. Either we're gonna put Steve's 12-speed drivetrain back on, and that's fine. Steve will bring some beer, we'll put it on. Or I'm gonna grab my extra rigid fork from home, 3-inch front tire, and we'll go to the next step, right? Because this is the thing, so myself personally, my single speed's a rigid bike, and for me, it's just like your flat pedals and like your single cog, no derailleur. You're just chasing this forever simpler mode. And yeah, I'm running cush core inserts, and I'm running big tires, I'm running big brakes, I'm running modern geometry. I'm not riding a bike from the 1980s, right? But I'm having as much fun as any of my friends on their full suspension bike on a bike that I never think about. I don't put air in the fork, I don't service the fork. It's amazing how much fun you can have on a much simpler construct.
That's true. And for those that don't know, I've ridden with Andrew in a lot of different trails, even like a Easter long weekend multi-day in Cumberland, and you're never last. In fact, you're often leading the charge on the climbs, and on the downs, definitely have a hard time keeping up with you. So yeah. There's nothing that, short of maybe like the big drops or the big gap jumps and stuff, which is stuff that I don't really do.
The risk can only take so much. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna note the reason I'm filthy is because I worked a whole shift in a bike shop today before we came here. This isn't just from us working on Steve's bike. It was a little dirty, but most of the grease and dirt is from work today.
Fair enough.
Just for the record.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are places you absolutely can't keep up. There's no doubt about it. That's true of single speeding. That's true of a rigid bike. I will say single speeding wise, where I usually can't keep up is on pavement, where like really who cares? Like, practice riding without hands, do some tricks, like who's racing on the pavement with their friends?
Yeah.
Off-road, steep, really, really janky stuff, and sometimes actually smooth trails are the worst.
Right.
But yeah, generally speaking, I with my friend group, I keep up fine.
Yeah.
And we're the kind of people who wait for each other anyways, right? So
totally. Yeah. So one thing that Andrew mentioned is I am committing to staying with single speed for 6 months. This is my only bike. I have no other options. So this is it. Day in, day out. I know it's going to be a big adjustment, and that's why I've decided to go with 6 months. I don't want it to be hard and then give up, right? I'm going to force myself to see it through, and if it really sucks after 6 months, you know, maybe we'll switch back, we'll see. And we'll keep you posted.
What you're gonna notice over 6 months is that how you apply pressure onto your pedals when you're climbing is going to completely change. And it's gonna be really neat when you ride your multi-speed bike as well. You're gonna find traction in steep sections in a hard gear that you never would have found in the same gear on your multi-speed bike or in lower gears as well. You're just going to be that much more in tune with your bike. It's going to be really neat, but you have to be patient, which is why it's cool that you're giving yourself 6 months as opposed to, like, you know, the 30-day challenge. You know, you start with the 30-day challenge, and then you know, I always talk about, like, my journey from clip-in pedals to flat pedals. It took me 3 months. Like, it took me 30 days to, like, even feel like I knew what I was doing. Okay. It took me 3 months before I was like, yeah, okay, like, I've made the right choice. Okay. It took me a year before I felt like truly at the level that I'd been at with clip-in pedals. Like, it's a year.
Okay.
You know, I think 6 months, you're gonna know whether you're on the right journey or you want to get off the bus.
Right.
But yeah, it's cool that you're gonna commit that much time.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's that. Now, if you're relatively new to riding, but you love it and you want to do it all the time, then you've come to the right place. I'm eager to ride all the trails and to learn all the things, so make sure you subscribe and follow along on our mountain biking adventures. Thanks for watching, and see you in the trail. Oh, is this pedal in your face? It looks like it is.
It's a little in my face, yeah. But you know, it's just a chrome egg dagger to the face. Can we do this? Can we do this with chin bars? Yeah.
Yeah, I get nervous around this.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's an aggressive pedal.
Yeah.
Yeah.